Hello, hello, good morning. Happy Tuesday. Hope you're having a great day so far. We are live. We are rocking and rolling. Let's get this in the comments. Flash report. Boom. Oh, my chat's not working. Let's get this going. 34. There we go. Now we're rocking. Talentgroup.com/report. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you are just joining in, this is the Claims Recruiter Office Hours weekly live stream. I go live every single Tuesday. It is my goal to help 100 adjusters in the year 2026 get jobs in the insurance industry. That's the purpose of this. But today we have something super exciting to talk about. I got it up here on the screen. I got a QR code. I got it in the chat. I've been teasing it on LinkedIn, some of my other social channels. Been working on this for a few weeks now, and it is officially live as of 8:30 this morning here on the West Coast. Went out about 45 minutes ago via email format to my newsletter subscribers. We sent out the 2026 Adjuster Intelligence Report, where we gathered some information from some very intelligent adjusters and compiled that into a quick little easy read report, talking about why adjusters leave jobs, what motivates people to take jobs, what's important to them and other jobs. And so we're going to break down some of that information on the live stream here today. If you want that report, you can scan this QR code on this side right here, this QR code, or head to the link in the comments through talentgroup.com/report, and you can get that totally free. So that's what we are breaking down here today. Super excited to talk about it. Let's get going. Let's get rocking. Say hello in the chat. If you have questions about it, I'd love to answer them live too. If certain things that you want to know about. Pretty exciting stuff. Pretty exciting stuff. So again, this is the Claims Recruiter Office Hours weekly live stream. I do this every single Tuesday, live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, maybe Instagram soon. Who knows? But we're doing it live here. We're going over the 2026 Adjuster Intelligence Report. Again, if you want that totally free, scan this QR code right here or head over to talentgroup.com/report to get that, and let's rock. Go ahead and hide. Oh, what did I hide? Wrong thing. Boom. Good morning, Anthony. Hope you're having an awesome day. William, good morning. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hope you're having an awesome Tuesday so far. It's a beautiful day. It is like the last beautiful day of summer here. Good morning. Thanks for tuning in. It's going to be I think the second last beautiful day here on the Pacific Northwest. 87 degrees today. It's going to be a beautiful one. And then it gets down to the 70s. It's going to be cold. It's going to be cold. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's talk about it. You don't care about the weather. Before we get into it, again, the purpose of the show has always been to try and help people find jobs in the insurance industry. So we do this segment every week where we shout out listeners. The idea is to help 100 people in the year 2026. As you can see in my little ticker at the bottom, we're up to 29. We have a lot of work to do with the last 4 months of 2026. We don't get to add to that count this week, unfortunately. However, we do have some exciting news from a listener of the show with an interview last week. So shout out Sandra if you're tuned in here. It sounds like Sandra had an awesome interview last week with some cool people that I know. So super excited to kind of make that connection. Hopefully it rocks and works well. Got lots of comments coming in. Thanks for the episode. Healthcare billing. Happy to jump on the call. Thanks so much for tuning in. We got Elizabeth. It's already fall here in Vermont. It's scary. I mean, fall in Vermont doesn't sound terrible. Fall in Portland, Oregon, unfortunately, sounds terrible. Fall in Vermont sounds like a beautiful time. Fall in Portland, Oregon means that it's going to rain for the next 4 months and I'm not going to see the sun. I like the sun. But thanks so much for tuning in. Again, this is the Claims Recruiter Office Hours. I'm going through on this live stream the Adjuster Intelligence Report, which I polled 64 claims adjusters about preferences of their work, where they like to work, why they would leave their jobs, what's important to them when looking for new jobs. And so if you want the full report and all the findings, you can go ahead and scan this QR code right here. Or you can head over to the link in the comments. It might be buried a little bit. crewtalentgroup.com/report. Check that out. But we're going to get right into it. So without further ado, let's rock. So before I get into the data, and let me kind of center this here. Hopefully you can see that just fine. Before I get into the data, I want to talk a little bit about how I got the data and how I did all of this. So basically, what I did was I created an anonymous survey. Nobody would do this if it wasn't, and asked people. Basically, the audiences that I polled were people on LinkedIn, people that listen to this podcast, and my newsletter subscribers. And I asked them 9 questions just about their work preferences. And I kind of go through the questions. How many years have you worked in claims, types of claims that you handle? What is your current base salary? And that was kind of broken down into ranges. Do you feel fairly paid for the work that you do? If you were considering a new role, what would matter most to you? What is your ideal work setup? What is the most likely reason that you'd leave your current job? Would you recommend a career in claims to someone who's starting today? And what is one thing an employer could do to keep you long term? So 9 questions, didn't take a whole long to fill out this survey, but got some really interesting responses. At 64 people answer this survey. Not a huge sample size, but I think large enough to get some information. Is this super scientific? And not really. It's kind of an informal poll. I think my goal was to learn from people in kind of a non-threatening environment where people could put their honest thoughts and opinions. And I think we accomplished that. And I got really interesting information out of this. And frankly, there wasn't a whole lot that was super surprising to me. I talk to people every day in claims, and I'd be curious from other people and listeners out there what you think about some of this stuff. But I'd say this first slide right here is kind of the most surprising thing to me. But yeah, let's get into it. So this one is based on, so I've got basically 5 things I'm going to go over here. And again, if you want the full report, QR code right here, crewtalentgroup.com/report. You can get this totally free, get all the information, or you can ask questions if there's something you want to know. If there's specific data points you would like to hear live, I can break it down for you live right now too. I got the raw data right here in front of me. But this little slide right here is based off of the question, what is the most likely reason for you to leave your current job? And I found this really interesting. Again, I'm not super surprised by the findings on here, but I think it's interesting. And what I mainly think is the most interesting is that pay was not the first one. And I think that's what a lot of people default to, and myself included at times. Like, just thinking about why people leave jobs. You hear all the time people say people don't quit jobs, people quit their manager. And it is kind of like this saying, and it is interesting because this data did really kind of prove that to be correct. 28% of people said the most likely reason for them to leave their current job is bad management. 27% said lack of growth, 22% said burnout, and only 16% said pay. And I think that's a really interesting theme, and that kind of goes along with one of the questions that we have later kind of coming up is do you feel fairly paid for the work that you do? But yeah, most people and most people that I talk to aren't necessarily going out and looking to go make the most amount of money. Sometimes as a recruiter, when I'm calling people or when I'm doing cold outreach, I'm cold calling someone and I have an opportunity that I'm trying to fill. A lot of times the responses will like, oh, if I made, if I got this much, then I'd maybe consider it. And to me, those aren't typically people that I want to really focus my time or energy in. And there's nothing against people that say that. I'm not mad at it. I'm just, to me, it's like, that person's really not super motivated to move. If the most perfect opportunity came along, what does that look like? And if someone's truly just motivated by the money, how much more money from their current role? It's hard. It's hard. And so I as a recruiter, I'm a lot of times trying to find people where their goals align, their career goals, and that lack of growth being at 27%. I think that's a big thing. And a lot of people want that. There's certain people that don't necessarily want to move into management or move up or take harder or more challenging and more stressful type positions. But I think a lot of people do. And frankly, as a recruiter, those are people that I spend a lot of time targeting and kind of going after. And those are some of the things that I look for. But yeah, bad management being number one at 28% is not surprising. Not surprising. But yeah, I'm curious if you're tuning in, if you've left a job before, what's been the reasons that you've left a job? Why did you decide to take the current job that you're in right now? Is it one of the things on the screen? I know it's difficult to say, like, I want to leave my current job on LinkedIn because it's public and you don't want to necessarily say it, but curious too about that. Like, what would motivate you if you're tuning in? What would motivate you to move from your current job right now? Yeah, I think this is interesting. I can think about managers that I've had. I think about really, really good managers that I have. I think about bad managers that I've had. But yeah, the last 3 jobs that I've left, the last job that I left to do this, you could say was due to lack of growth. And it wasn't anything that the guys could have done differently. And awesome company, awesome dudes, really good people, but I just wanted to grow my own business. And so you could put that into lack of stability. That's a really, really good call out. And I think it's really important to think about that, especially in the insurance industry. We see, like, even this year, we see layoffs. And I don't think it's just the insurance industry. I think it's kind of every industry, but is your company, what's the stability of that company? What's the long-term projection? Do they have money in payroll? That's always like coming from the independent adjusting world. I worked in that world for a long time. That's a real concern with people. And a big hurricane hits tomorrow, and there's firms calling everyone out, blasting your phone for deployments. One of the things adjusters should be asking about, if it's a company they haven't heard before, is like, how do you pay? How often do you pay? When am I going to get paid? I don't know. I've been in this industry long enough to see a company 1 week bringing on 150 adjusters for a big deployment and 3 weeks later going under because they couldn't float payroll. And so stability is a really, really good call out. Agree. Management and growth. Management and growth are both reasons I have left previous positions. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, William. Thanks for all being here. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think that's all really interesting. And again, no one's saying pay, which I think is really interesting. I've left a job for pay before. I have done that. I had someone else poach me. I went out and made probably double what I made at that job, and I will tell you, I quit that job 3 months later for that number one reason right there. And it was a mix of things. It was it wasn't necessarily bad management. It was a mix of stability. It just what bad management and management not being a fit for me, I think are a little bit different. But you could say call it bad management. You could call it we weren't aligned on values. And I wish that company the best. They're not a bad company. They're great people over there. I know the HR director over there. She's great. But it wasn't a fit for me. It wasn't aligned. So I don't mean like I didn't get a promotion, but leadership not hiring you for only the current role, but an intent and vision for your development. Yeah, and that's so important. And I think about positions that I've had in my past and managers that I've had who really like believe in you, are transparent with you about what their vision is, tell you things even when they're not fun to hear, have difficult conversations with you. Those are things that I really value. And I've had some really awesome managers, some really awesome mentors in my career. That's part of why I stayed at Eberl for so long. Like, again, like I wasn't getting rich there, but the management that I worked with was just really incredible people. The team that I worked with was awesome people. I have left for a company offering a 10K signing bonus. You gotta be careful with those signing bonuses, though. Sometimes those signing bonuses will get you. My wife did a signing bonus. She got a pretty penny for a company, and then it's a 3-year commitment. You get a signing bonus, you get a relocation bonus, and then you got to pay it out of your pocket back to them, at a certain percentage if you leave within 3 years. A lot of people don't have $6,000 to write a check to their lawyer to quit their job, so it can handcuff you to a position. And so signing bonuses are awesome, but they sometimes aren't. There's some things attached to them sometimes, so it's important to know that. Moving on, we'll go to the next little bullet point that I found really interesting. And again, this is, if you're just tuning in, we're going over the crew intelligence report, the adjuster intelligence report. I surveyed 64 insurance adjusters about their preferences for work, why they would leave their current job, a bunch of different questions. If you want the full report, you can scan this QR code right here, or you can head over to crewtalentgroup.com/report. That link is in the comments, and get this full report. Went out to my newsletter this morning about an hour ago. We're discussing it live. If there's anything else you want to hear, if you got questions about it, we're breaking it down live right now. We'll keep rocking. So, let's see. What was this question? Oh, so this is the same question, just kind of broken down by years of experience. And really, the really interesting thing that I found here was how at 8 to 15 years, the burnout rate spiked. And again, you got to remember the sample size isn't massive here, but it's enough where 3 to 7 years is 30 people, 8 to 15 years is 20 people, 15 plus is 11. It's big enough to see a trend there. And I think it is interesting that people in the middle of their career cite burnout so much higher than people at the beginning or 15 plus years. Because if you've been doing it for 15 plus years, not saying you're not going to get burnt out of it, but you've been doing it long enough where maybe you're getting better at kind of managing some of that burnout. But I think it's really interesting how burnout spiked and bad management went lower. Just very interesting to me. I think burnout is such an important thing to talk about. And I hear it from adjusters constantly. They get burned out. I talked to someone yesterday who was talking about leaving a job, and it was like, why? I got burned out. I got burnt out. Been in a job for like 18 years, and you got burnt out of it. And so burnout is a big thing. Why do adjusters get burned out? There's so many reasons. It's just a hard job. It's not an easy career. You're working with people that just experience major loss. And so it's emotional toll on you. If you're handling fire losses and every day you wake up and you go to work and you get to talk to someone whose house just burned down, that's going to take an emotional toll on you. Or you're arguing with contractors, very nicely arguing, but you're negotiating, high stakes, high stress. It can be extremely stressful. Um, you're having to make denials. It's not fun. Nobody enjoys doing that. It's part of the job. You're managing high pendings. Like, there's so many reasons that this career burns people out. With AI and all this stuff, what you constantly hear is, oh, we have all these tools. Well, adjusters can handle so many more claims now. And that's great. That's fine and dandy, but it's more people you got to talk to. It's more loss involved. It's more, it's more like a little less data entry, but hey, you know what? That data entry wasn't burning you out. You weren't getting stressed out typing in your computer. You weren't getting stressed out manipulating that exactament diagram. All of a sudden now you have some tools that are helping you out do that, so you can focus on the important things, like it's hard. It's a difficult career, and I think burnout's real. And I think this is really interesting that it shows that, yeah, people kind of mid-career are affected by burnout proportionally higher than people who are kind of early career or later career. Lack of growth is kind of similar. And then, yeah, I think it's really interesting how bad management was only 10% with that middle group. So interesting statistics there. And let's move on. Let's see what we have next. And this is what I see every single day. Again, not at all surprised. Yeah, Caleb joining in. Catastrophic fire and flood losses were the most rewarding work I've done. The contractor PA driven work was the most exhausting. I'd love for you to expand on that. For someone who's totally new to insurance, what exactly that means, I could say it. You could probably say it better than I can because you've lived it so much more. But yeah, I'm curious, like why that is for you. And if you're brand new and you're listening and you're hearing this and you're not quite understanding what that means. A catastrophic fire loss. You show up there, you show up to the Palisades fire, the house is burned down. You're paying for the house. You're helping someone get back, get their stuff back, and it's rewarding. It's it's awesome to be a part of that. It sucks that happened. It's terrible, but that's like the whole idea of insurance, and that's why it's such a great thing and it's amazing, is because most average person can't deal with that. If my house burned down right now, I can't buy a new house. I don't have the money to replace everything. I have a mortgage. And so as an adjuster, again, I recruit people. I don't do the work, so I'd love to hear it more from you, Caleb, but that's got to be rewarding to do that and to see that and to help people through that process. To be arguing with a contractor in the middle of Illinois because some roofer from out of state saw on a hail report that there was 1.5 inch hail, and they knocked on every door and trying to drum up business for their roofing company, and you're arguing over our 3-tab shingles that are 30 years old needing a replacement on a no damage claim. That's got to be exhausting. So yeah. I don't envy you. But it's part of the job. It's part of it. But that's why, a burnout is such a big deal. Such a big thing. Hear about it constantly. Arguing with people that love to argue over dumb stuff. And then we wonder why our insurance rates are so high. But that's a whole nother podcast. But no, this is what I found to be, again, not surprising at all. On average, 69% of the people that answered want fully remote. There was 3 options here. There was fully remote, hybrid, or in office. As you could probably guess, most people want fully remote. Standing with people on the worst day of their life and knowing you will help work them be able to offer comfort and reassurance in a desperate time makes you a godsend to people. They refer to you as an angel, even though I'm far from that. LOL. Yeah, I can't imagine how incredible that feels to kind of be a part of that and to help someone through that time. And that's why we do what we do. That's the why. I think that's... Shout out Jen. Back when at the Emerald days, you know, a hurricane would be coming in. We'd see a hurricane coming in, and we'd go in the... It'd be on a Saturday. And we'd have, you know, the whole office would come in on a Saturday getting ready for hurricanes. And we're just calling. The phones are just... We're going crazy. 250 phone calls a day. Even more than that. I mean, I would sit there from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and just be on the phone all day. But when we would do that, Jennifer, our COO at the time, would pull everyone in the conference room and give us kind of this rah-rah speech about why we do what we do and about what it's like to stand out there as an adjuster and work with people and to help people rebuild their lives, and how the work that we do is meaningful. And yeah, it just gets me fired up. I remember those days. Jen is an awesome leader, an awesome mentor kind of early in my career. It was wonderful to work with her. She's killing it now. She was killing it back then too, but hearing those stories, yeah, dealing with the PA cussing you out over telling them we are looking at blistering and granular loss is not fun. I've told people I will not fight with you on a roof. Getting paid. I'm not getting paid enough. Yeah. I mean, you see it online. You see the craziness. You see, I don't know, it's in my algorithm where you get this shingle is damaged right here, and that's not repairable, and then it touches this aspect, so we have to replace that, and then all of a sudden this 30-year-old roof that has one hail hit needs to be fully replaced, and it's burnout's a real thing. Thanks for sharing, Caleb. Appreciate you being here. Yeah, I will not get off the roof. Get off the roof before you fight the contractor. Yikes. Yeah, blistering and granular loss. But yeah, okay, so back to the report, back to the 2026 Adjuster Intelligence Report. Really interesting finding here of just who wants to be fully remote. I'm not surprised by any of this. 100% of people with 15 plus years of experience that answered said they want fully remote. Not surprising at all. It's one of the things that I see kind of every day. And I think it's a really good call out to employers or companies or people, hiring managers out there. If you're looking for the most experienced person, if you're looking for someone with, 10 plus years of general liability experience, you want your next construction defect, you need that premise liability, or you need your product liability or med mal adjuster with all this really great experience. Even if you're paying really good money, these people want to be remote. And there is a large group of people, especially in the group that's 15 plus years of experience, that will not consider your job unless it is fully remote. And I see that with my searches. I see that with people that I cold outreach to. I see that with candidates that I talk to. And this number is growing. And there are companies out there that will allow them to be fully remote. And so it's kind of I think this is the biggest takeaway for me from the whole report is yeah, people, especially 15 plus years, they want to be remote. And it's not surprising. It's something that I hear every day. And I'll get people that reach out to me that say, hey, I'm in this boat where I'm working 3 days a week. You find me a remote job that's about the same salary, I would be interested. I'd take it. So under 3 years, 67%. A little bit of a pipe dream there. If you're brand new, trying to get into insurance, looking for your first job, looking to grow, it's very difficult. there's a larger pool of people looking for work at that kind of range, and so you're competing with a larger group of people, and a lot of those people will go hybrid or will go into the office. So I think hybrid is a lot more doable kind of in that range. And then, yeah, I do think it's kind of interesting that the under 3 wanted it more than 3 to 7, 8 to 15. And those are kind of the bigger numbers in terms of the number of people who responded. So interesting that only 53% of people 3 to 7 years. I think there's more people kind of in that range that have done it, worked a little bit, and see value in being in an office. And I really do. I know I'm sitting here saying, oh, if you're not remote, you're missing out on people. I think it depends on the type of role. And I think kind of early career people, I think there is a major benefit. If you're getting hired on to run a desk and you're in a queue and that's your job and you already know how to do it, and yeah, there's some certain things you're gonna have to learn how your company does it. But if you're 15 years in the industry and hey, I want you to sit here and work this desk, it makes more sense to hey, that let them be remote. If you're 3 years in and you're learning a new line of business, you could probably benefit from being 3 days in an office or 2 days in an office a week, sitting next to someone else who knows what they're doing. So, or in the same boat as you, and you can kind of bounce ideas off of them, or you can walk into your manager's office and have a conversation about a complex file that you're handling. And so that's why I think those numbers are the way they are. I don't totally know. It's speculation on my part, but I do think that's interesting data points. But again, if you're hiring, if you're a company out there right now, and you're hiring a position where you're requiring, you need the top of the line CD adjuster, you need med mal, or even commercial property, you're missing a huge pool of people if you're not making that job remote. You're missing all the people that replied to the survey. Those people aren't applying to your job if it's not remote. So, not saying it's impossible, but it's certainly harder. Certainly harder. This is another one I found pretty interesting. So in total, 69% of people said that they would recommend claims to someone else. So about 7 in 10 people would recommend claims to someone who's not in the industry. 3 out of 10 would not recommend claims. So I find that data point really interesting just on its own. Most people who work in claims do think it's a good career and would recommend it to somebody. And don't tell the Facebook forums, don't tell the people in the online Reddit forums this. Claims is still a great career for people. And I know a lot of the rhetoric you hear online is negative, but it's a great career for people, and people that are doing the job every single day still recommend it to other people. I found this breakdown a little bit interesting. 83% of people who said, so let's see, I can't quite see the number, but 83% of people who said that they feel fairly paid recommend claims to other people. So there is kind of a bit of a correlation between people who say that they're fairly paid or believe that they're fairly paid that would recommend it. 55% of people who don't feel fairly paid recommend claims to other people. So I do think that's interesting on its own too. Like, even if you don't feel fairly paid at your current job, the majority of people still recommend claims to other people. I would only recommend it to certain types of people. It is definitely not for everyone. I don't think I could say any truer words. It is definitely not for everyone. So who is it not for? If you're tuning in, What type of person would not do well in claims? That's my question. Who would you recommend claims for, and who is it not for? One of the things that when I talk to people, I try and kind of screen for a bit, especially of newer adjusters, but I think people that are super empathetic and feel other people's emotions and have a hard time like distancing themselves from other people's emotions don't do very well in claims. And I think it's, if like seeing bad things bothers you. I was just talking to a claims manager a couple weeks ago. Like, you know, I got into commercial trucking, and one of the things that they said it's like really stuck with them is like seeing the bad things that happen. And being a commercial trucking adjuster, what happens, what causes an adjuster to have work is, you know, accidents. And large commercial trucks getting in accidents sometimes end really poorly. It's really large machines moving really quickly, hitting things, injuries, debilitating injuries, sometimes death. It can be emotionally taxing. People who are not prepared to take on mentally, emotionally, and sometimes the physically difficult work, for sure. But yeah, I think mentally and emotionally, really, yeah, the physical stuff, especially if you're a field adjuster, climbing roofs, being in the hot sun, working long days, working hurricanes, you know, having empathy while also having thick skin. That's a great call out. Thanks for tuning in, Chris. I hope you're having an awesome Tuesday. But yeah, you have to have empathy to do this work, but you can't take too much of that on. Or just kind of, maybe it's certain places you could be, you know, a physical damage adjuster might not have to have as much empathy if you're doing auto physical damage as like a general liability or a workers' comp. But yeah, you hear it a lot, like workers' comp. You know, workers' comp adjuster, you're working with people that had massive serious injury on a daily basis, and if you have a hard time thinking about that, or you taking that work home with you every day, you're gonna have a hard time in this industry. So, but yeah, I think it's an awesome career for people. I think, yeah, you have to have kind of a different mental mindset in terms of what you're able to take home, what you can kind of leave at work. You need to have a hard work ethic. You need to work hard. This is not a career for people that want to coast and get an easy job and coast into the sunset. It's not the right career. But I think some of the things that I love about the insurance industry is the people that I've met, the projects that I've been a part of, really some of the most innovative technology, analytical, people that think analytically, people that think critically, people that want to help people. And then people that like other people. You know, it's really kind of a people industry at the end of the day. I know we talk about AI and all that stuff, but you know, going out, meeting someone that just had a large loss, meeting a contractor, meeting a mitigation team, meeting an engineer, you know, working with these big teams, working together kind of for a common goal, even though sometimes it can seem like you're maybe not working together. That's what it's all about, is working together, trying to get good outcomes for the insured, for the insurance company, making it happen. But overwhelmingly, people that responded to this recommend claims to other people, which I think, again, it's not surprising because I've worked in claims and I've met some awesome people. I love what I do. I recommend it to people every day. But interesting to hear. But yeah, here's the Rod's add-on that one. 69% of people would recommend a career in claims. 44 said yes. 7 said maybe. No was 13 out of 64. So I think that's what I got here. That's the rest of the report. Curious if you guys have any other questions, any other data. I got all the raw data right in front of me right now. So if there's anything else you want me to break down, we can. Again, you get the full report at this QR code right here. Through talentgroup.com/report. Surveyed 64 claims adjusters just about their work preferences, what would make them leave a job, even some salary band information, so we can kind of break down some of that stuff. But yeah, I got some really interesting results. Super happy with it. I'd love to start doing some more of these. This is fun. Pretty easy for me to do. Pretty easy to accomplish. Maybe I do a little bit larger one with more breakdowns in the future, now that I've done this one time. But yeah, really interesting data. Nothing that I was super surprised about. I still think the pay being the fourth top reason that someone would leave their current job was probably the most surprising part. Remote work being a preference, not surprising at all, but kind of shocking to kind of see it in numbers there. The salary information was also interesting to me. Most people that answered were in kind of the 60 to 90 range. There were people that made more. I think there was one person that made under 60. So just from a salary standpoint, talking about claims, what people make, it can be a really good career. You know, entry-level positions in claims, you know, a couple years in, you can make $60,000-$70,000, and then, you know, you hear the stories how much people can make. The sky is the limit. Realistically, I think the median is, I don't want to spew misinformation, but I think kind of in that 70 to 90 range is probably the median for most people. And then once you do it you become really proficient, you get in a certain line of business, you become an expert at it, certainly make more. But again, this is the Claims Recruiter Office Hours weekly live stream. If you're tuned in, thanks so much. We made it 45 minutes here today. We'll do the last 15 minutes kind of standard live stream, where this has been more talking about this report, which is awesome, and that's what I just worked on, and so that was kind of the purpose of today. But wanted to save 15 minutes at the end for our typical live stream, and the whole idea is to help 100 people get jobs in claims in 2026. And so the idea of this live stream is I open up my office just like a college, just like reminds me of my college professors. You know, you have the office hours, you can go, you needed some help, you needed some extra one-on-one time. It's just me making myself available to help people get jobs in the insurance industry. I typically prepare a couple of questions that have slid into my DMs from throughout the week, and I'll talk about those. But if you're tuned in and you got something on your mind, if you want me to go over your resume live, if you want to talk about interview you got coming up, whatever that might be, pop it in the chat and we will rock. Again, if you want the full report that we just went over, through talentgroup.com/report, or you can sign up for the newsletter. Yeah, thanks so much for being here. Let's get to it. We got 15 minutes left. Let's see here. Okay. So kind of going along with what the report was saying, right? The number one reason that people leave their current job is bad management. I'm looking for a job. Can you help? Yes, you feel free to send me your resume. I'd be happy to help. I saw a couple of your earlier comments. I will be honest, I mainly do work over here in the United States. However, so like from a placement standpoint, I may not be able to help you directly, but I think a lot of this stuff that I talk about on this live stream Doesn't matter what country you're in, doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter. All these things can be applied. So is there anything particular that you're struggling with? That's what I'd be curious to hear. What exactly are you struggling to get interviews? Are you brand new? Looks like you've got a little bit of related experience. Be curious, yeah, what type of work are you looking for? What have you done so far? Let's try and help find you a job here today. My manager is the number one reason I want to leave. What do I say in the interview? It's a good little interview tip or idea. You know, when you're talking at interviews, when you're speaking to people in interviews, you don't want to necessarily not tell the truth, but you want to make sure you're painting yourself in the best light. And one of the ways that I've seen people time and time again not paint themselves in the best light in an interview is trashing their old manager. I think we've all had managers we disagree with, we dislike. And that's okay, that's human, but you don't necessarily want to relive that all in an interview. So if this is you and if you're in this boat, what I would say is trying to find reasons that you want the next job. I wouldn't say, hey, I dislike my manager, I'm trying to get out. I would say, I like my current job, but this seems like a really awesome opportunity, and so I applied because I wanted to learn more. Or this really aligns better with my goals, but I'm looking for this, and this opportunity has these things, and I'm specifically targeting that. I'm happy in my current role, but yeah. I'm in the UK now, but I have 7 years into USA healthcare claims and denials processing end to end. So you've been in it for a while. You're working. So the first thing that I would recommend doing is kind of taking an inventory of what you want to do next. And maybe you've already kind of done that a little bit, but try and figure out what exactly you want to do in your next position. Are there particular jobs that you're interested in? I could see why working in USA healthcare and the denials process, you maybe would want to pivot to something else. It seems like burnout type of work. And so if that's where you're at right now, where do you want to be? What's the next step for you? Do you want to be in healthcare claims? Do you want to be in different types of claims? Do you want to maybe move into like liability work, or move into different types of claims? I know the UK has a huge marketplace. I need a job based on my profile and experience. Yeah. And so that's really what I would recommend is you're saying you like want a job, but you got to start being a little more niche. You got to niche down and really find out what does that job look like. Same healthcare claims. So you're targeting healthcare claims, targeting healthcare type companies. So then what I would do, so once you've targeted, okay, this is the job title, this is what I want, is try and find 5 to 10 companies, and preferably like in your area. I'm not sure what the market exactly is for US companies hiring overseas. I was working for Medtronic for DME processing. Got a jet. Thanks so much, Anthony. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon. So yeah, like I don't know exactly what the market is for what you're doing specifically, but that's part of the process, right? Is you got to figure out, okay, this is the type of job that I want. These are the companies that do this, you know, and find 5 to 10 companies in your area. And it may not align exactly. It may be a little bit adjacent, but find kind of your ideal companies. And it doesn't matter if these companies are hiring at the exact moment right now. It doesn't matter if there's jobs online. You want to find the ideal company that aligns with your skills and experience, or where you want to be in 3 to 5 years. So even if they're not hiring at this exact moment, if they have people working in positions that you would be interested in, those are the companies that you're going to want to find. And so in your position, what I would recommend doing is sitting down and kind of taking an inventory of like, okay, here's the top 3 jobs that I would want to do. Okay, once you find those top 3 jobs that you want to do, find 5 to 10 companies in your area, ideally, that that have those types of positions. And then what I would start doing is reaching out to people or networking with people or figuring out where these people that do these jobs hang out and starting to get in conversations with these people. One of the things that I'm finding right now and I'm hearing from job seekers is they go online, they put their resume, they send it to 100 different companies and they get 100 different rejections within 5 minutes. And it's not working. The application thing, it doesn't work for anybody. It's not working for the job seekers. It's not working for the companies. It's not working for anybody except for the companies who are profiting off of those job ads. And so we put too much stock in job applications and resumes and not enough stock in like actual human conversations. I want to work as a claims team manager, claims team leader. Okay, so if that's the goal, what I would recommend doing is going out and finding 20 people in your area that are claims managers, claims teams leaders, and getting in conversations with these people and just trying to say, hey, I'm at this point in my career. I see that you're doing this type of work. Would you have any advice for someone who wants to get in that line of work in the future? How did you get into that line of work? What steps did you take to get there? And then it helps you kind of be more realistic of how to get into that. It's hard. Claims management is really hard to break into. And so talking to people who have done it, learning about their story, and then starting to target those types of things. And what you'll find is when you go to people and try and have conversations like that are, hey, I saw you on LinkedIn. I see that you work for this awesome company. How did you do it? I'm just curious. How did you get there? And started, be friends with these people. The goal at this point is not to say, hey, person online, in this position, I want your job, or will you hire me? The goal is more just to have human conversation with that person. And they might have a job right now. They might not have a job right now. But either way, if you come at them with, I want a job, they're probably not going to respond. But if you come at them with, hey, I want to have a conversation, it's going to be a little bit more productive. And then they might know someone, or they might have referrals, and so meeting people, making connections, having conversations is always going to be more beneficial for you as a job seeker than just mass applying to jobs online. So that's what I do. Find those 5 companies, come up with the jobs that you want, find the companies that you want to work for, and start making friends with people or finding where these people, what conferences they go to, or what claims organizations that they're a part of, or what professional groups they're a part of, and join some of these things so you can meet the people, you can make friends, you can have conversations, and you can do more education and like research on how to get there. And it may not be the path that you were originally intending, like, hey, I get this job and I get this job. Maybe you have to take a job that it's not as attractive, or maybe you have to start in a department that you didn't necessarily want to work at first. But that's what I would do. Yeah, find the companies, meet the people, make the friends, and it's a long-term play. Most people, it takes about 3 months to find a new job. And so in the meantime, if you have to find another source of income, if you have to take a different, just like, money job, if you're in the US, you got to go drive Uber, whatever that might be, you may have to do that. But it's a long-term game. You're making the long-term play. And so that's definitely what I'd recommend, is join the groups, meet people online, try and meet people where they're at, but just have conversations. And one way that you can measure that is try and set that as a KPI for yourself. If your KPI in the past was like, hey, I need to apply to 15 jobs this week, tear that up, because it's worthless. There's not a million, after 3 weeks, there's just not that many jobs that you can apply for. But you can have 3 conversations a week. Try and have 3 conversations a week with people that are in the industry. And also think about networking with people that you work with. So old colleagues that you haven't talked to in a while, maybe it's time to kind of reach into that network and just start having conversations. And again, the conversation's not, can I have a job? I need a job. It's just, hey, how's it going? You're killing it. Love to hear more about what you're doing right now. Oh, I'm looking for work right now. Here's kind of what I'm doing. You know, here's the things that I'm looking at. And the other thing is, when you're looking at jobs and you're looking at positions that you want to work in, try and research what those job descriptions are and what qualifications they're looking for, and see if you have a match for that. Another thing that I see a lot of times with job seekers is that, I applied to 25 jobs and I got rejected for all of them. It's like, well, what jobs are you applying for, and what skills do you have, and is it close? You know, because if I'm out there every day and I'm trying to be the CEO, like, it's not going to work out for me because I don't have the skills and qualifications. You have to be applying for jobs that you relatively within reason are qualified for. You don't have to be 100% qualified for every job that you apply for, but you should be, 60, 70, 75% qualified for them. But my biggest advice for anybody, and thanks so much for joining and tuning in and having the conversation, but my biggest advice for anybody in your position, I'm looking for work, I'm trying to get a job, is to try and have conversations with real human beings as opposed to mass applying online. It's your goal is to network, and there's actionable steps that you can do to network. It doesn't have to be going out and going to conferences. You can do it on the comfort of your own home. Go online, you can have conversations. It's things as easy as connecting with someone on LinkedIn and then liking and commenting on their stuff. And maybe you there's a claims manager or a company that you really want to work for. Add them on LinkedIn and comment on every single one of their posts and like every single one of their posts. And not garbage content, but just add to whatever they're talking about. If they seem like cool people and people you want to work with, they're going to want to work with you more if you seem like a cool person and someone that they want to work with too. And no one's going to get mad at you for liking all their posts, So really easy, actionable steps like that. And then maybe after you liked a few posts and gone back and forth in the comments, you can send them a message and say, hey, I love this content. This is awesome. Let's have a conversation sometime. I'd love to grab a cup of coffee. But let's see. We got maybe one more question and then we'll rock. How do you actually make more money in claims? How do you make more money in claims? The biggest way, the best way, I would say, there's a couple different ways. And we're running up at the end of the hour here, so I'll answer this quick and we'll move on. But 3 things that I see people make more money in claims. The first is niching down, finding a specialty and owning that specialty. Maybe it's commercial large loss work. Maybe that specialty is auto liability. Maybe that specialty is estimating commercial auto damage. Maybe it's construction defects. But owning a niche, being the best at the niche, being one of the top people in your niche is one way to make more money in claims. The second way to make more money in claims, I would say, is to move up into management and director level roles where your responsibilities are affecting the company's bottom line and having more of an influence and an impact. Third way to make more money in claims is to find new jobs. And I think it's not talked about a lot, but you're working at a job and you're working at a major carrier and you've been there for 6 years and it's coming up on review time. You're going to get your 3% raise. Sometimes you got to make a jump into a totally different role and someone else is going to see your value a little bit higher than where you're at. And you may be comfortable where you're at. You may enjoy the people that you work with, but if you want to make more money, sometimes that's the move you got to do. You got to get uncomfortable. And so that's one way to make more money in claims. Uncomfortable. Something that I'm doing right now. I wanted to make more money. One of my life goals is to make more money. And I loved my last job. I loved the people that I work with. It was hard to leave. But sometimes you got to do things that are uncomfortable to accomplish your goals. So here we are. Has it worked out for me so far? Sure. Yeah, it's worked out. It's been good. Not rich yet, but we're getting there. I'm having a great time learning a lot about myself. I've been very uncomfortable for a very long time. I'd like to get a little more comfortable here soon. But it's been awesome and I love it and I wouldn't trade it for a second. Love working for myself. Dog. But that's it. If you've made it this whole time, thanks so much for tuning in. To recap, road to 100, our 2026 mission is to help 100 people get jobs and claims. We are up to 29. Let's go for those 29. Love to hear from you. If you've listened to the show, if have helped you in any way, shape, or form get your job, please let me know. Please reach out to me anyway. It means the world to me. Yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. This has been the Claims Recruiter Office Hours weekly live stream. Again, if you want the 2026 Adjuster Intelligence Report, head on over to this QR code right here, crewtalentgroup.com/report. Get that bad boy totally free. Let's rock. Awesome. Thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your week. Signing off.